Texicurians are here today with my dear friend Melissa Steele. We've been friends for many, many years, and some days I do this with people that I don't get to know very well or don't know very well, but today I'm with my dear precious friend, and it's so much fun to be together. And Melissa, tell me what all we're gonna do here. Tell us about we've got a lot of pecans I see, and I think you've got a treat for us. So tell us where this recipe came from.
Yes, well, so this recipe came through the family. It is called the Chicken Ranch recipe. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up. Do a little research. It's a great story and it's true. There was even a Broadway play called Best Little Whorehouse in Texas starring Dolly Parton many years ago. In fact, my daughter-in-law's dad was in the band in that movie. But anyway, this recipe came through my mom's second cousin. We think that it came after the Chicken Ranch was closed in 1973. My great uncle was hired to protect the place to make sure souvenir hounds wouldn't come. And the recipe has the name Ms. Jessie on it. And in my research, I found out Ms. Jessie was actually the first madam. We have got 4 beaten eggs, so I'm going to go ahead and put them in here. Nothing extra special about the eggs. Okay, so we've got our 4 eggs in the bowl, and now we're going to add our 2 cups of sugar. We just have it on stir if you've got a KitchenAid, and if you don't, just on a low speed. Let this stir for a bit. You add 2 cups of cinnamon. Have enough cinnamon. Dump that. I love cinnamon. And 2 cups of cloves. Let that mix for a little bit. I'm gonna let that just mix. Make sure it's really well mixed. Because we've got some really great spices in here. Get out our big silver bowl and continue in this. Because it is a big recipe. Moving right along. So now we add the dates. Chopped dates. Okay. Next, the raisins. That's a pound of raisins and the pecans. So, okay, we're gonna mix these up and then I'm gonna add the butter. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this a little bit first. That soda in as well. Okay, now we're going to start adding the flour. So if you can see this, we're going to do it a little at a time so we don't have any clumping. So this takes a little bit of patience.
Okay, so it looks like these cookies are pretty mixed up. You have just a little bit more flour to add to it. That is a hunk of dough.
It is a hunk of dough, and it's a bunch of hunk of cookies too.
I can tell. So I see you poured a little oil on this pan. Would you like me to get this spread out for you?
And actually, the recipe doesn't say to do that. I just always like to because I hate things sticking. Now this recipe says to make some test cookies. So we're going to do 1 batch of test cookies, and the reason you want to do that is just to make sure you've got enough flour. The recipe calls for 3 cups, but it's just always a good idea to make a test cookie.
3 cups is not very much flour for this much dough. I'm blown away. So clearly it is the pecans and the dates.
That is what holds
that's
it
making it
all.
all. Yeah.
Makes it dense.
So actually, this is a pretty healthy recipe at the end of the day. And how much sugar was in it?
2 cups.
2 cups. So,
but dates, raisins, and pecans. Yeah, it's got a lot of
yeah, it has a lot of good protein in it with the pecans. And
4 eggs.
November is Texas Pecan Month.
Oh,
and
perfect.
pecans are a Texas product,
Very
something that we
much.
grow really well here in Texas. So Melissa, how long was your grandfather, right?
Great-grandfather.
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 Sheriff of Fayette County.
He was in law enforcement for, I believe, 40 years, but sheriff, I'd have to check. Like I said, I was 2 or 3 when he passed away at 94. So
I bet he had some stories to tell.
my grandmother wrote a little book that was sold locally and a few other places called The Hanging Rope, because there were actually 2 people hanged in Fayette County during his time. They were both pretty brutal murders, but yeah, he saw a lot. He saw a whole lot.
Okay, so how big are you making these? They're what, about 2.5 inches in diameter?
Yes, and
These are pretty big.
They are, and they may need a little more flour. They feel a little sticky, so I'm going to add just a little.
So that's how you can tell
Yeah.
if it's feeling a little too
It
sticky.
feels a little too sticky. I think I'm just add a little more flour just to be safe, and then we will do a test cookie to see.
Cooking is not a science. There's definitely a lot of art to cooking. And it sounds like that's the case with these cookies.
Yes.
And I know you mentioned to me that you looked up what the wages were at that time when they were making
Yes.
these cookies and how much these cookies would have cost to make. Of course, they might have probably got the pecans locally.
Well, since they traded chickens for services back during the Depression, they may have traded pecans for some things too. I don't know. Yeah, so evidently the madam would keep 75% of the girls' earnings, and the girls got to keep. The girls were making over $100,000, what would be today over $100,000. And with the madam keeping 75% of that and having 12 to 16 girls out there,
They could make a good expensive cookie back in the day, even if it was the Depression.
Absolutely. Can't remember if it was Miss Jessie or Miss Edna, but they were known as a huge philanthropist in the town of LaGrange. And I did not know why it was closed down. I mean, I didn't know what was behind it, but you can do your own research, see what you think. So here we go. We're going to put these in the oven and test them.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. The original recipe we got said 20 minutes, but my mom's cousin, so my, whatever that would be, Barbara Barton, said that that was not enough. So this recipe says 30 to 45 minutes. So after 30 minutes, you want to check it and just kind of check one and see if it's done, and then you can go on from there. And the way I usually do it is I sacrifice one cookie, break it in half, look at it.
Oh, I can help you with that. We can break that and take care of that.
Absolutely.
And I should note that the oven is set on 275.
Yes,
So it's
very
really
slow
a low
oven,
temperature.
very low oven.
Yeah.
And a low oven and a big cookie. So these take a little bit of extra time, but you don't want to compromise these great ingredients.